the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimer. So it's a good review and preparation for Yud Shvat to learn this Maimer, because it touches on many of the points of the Basi Lagani Maimer of the previous Rebbe. بعצם היום הזה, it was in the very essence of this day, Yatzu Kol Tzivos Havayim Eretz Mitzrayim. All the hosts of Hashem, in other words, the Jewish people, the army of Hashem, went out from the land of Mitzrayim. And my father-in-law, and analyzes in his Maimer that has the same title, Mishabes Parshas Bo Yud Shvat Shnas Tofresh Peg Yimot, a Maimer that the previous Rebbe said in the year 1923, and the Rebbe said later on he's going to mention that the Maimer of Yud Shvat that the Rebbe said or gave out in 1950 was the one based on that Maimer from 1923. Let's skip the brackets to line 7. The Tzar Law, when you understand Mauza, the Yisrael, the Kroim Tzivos Havai, what is this idea that the Jewish people are called the army of Hashem, or the hosts of Hashem? The Shem Tzvokos Lo Niskar B'Torah. Hashem's name of Tzvokos, where Hashem is called by that title, is not mentioned in the 5 books, in the Chamish Chumshei Torah. The Kan Kodesh Yisrael B'Shem Tzivos Havai. Over here, he calls the Jewish people Tzivos Havai. Yeshloimer, the Rebbe now explains further the question of the Frierdiker Rebbe, or the analysis of the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Masha calls it by Maimer, the Shem Tzvokos like Niskar B'Torah, what the Frierdiker Rebbe wrote in his Maimer, that the name Tzvokos of Hashem is not mentioned in the Torah. Who b'chadei lahadgish yoser diuk han Niskar la'el ma'ozeh the Yisrael nikroim tzivos havaya. It's to emphasize even more the analysis that he mentioned before, when this exact term that's used before, that the Jewish people are called the Tzivos Havaya. The Hainu Mahi Ateelos the Torah Tzivos Havaya. What is the benefit? What is the use of the description of the hosts of Havaya? Ki agam shetzvokos Hashem Kadosh v'Meshiva Hashem Hashem M'chakim. Though the name Tzvokos is a holy name, and it's one of the 7 names of Hashem that may not be erased, despite that, this is a name of Hashem that was only revealed through the prophets. It's not something that we find in the Chamish Chumshei Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu. Like it's brought down Torah in Maimer Azal, with Chazal state, from the day that Hashem created His world, there was no one that called Hashem by the name Tzvokos, Ad Shabbos Chana, until Chana, the mother of Shmuel Navi, came, and when she praised Hashem, she called Hashem by name Tzvokos. So in other words, it's only a name that was introduced by the prophets, and not in the Chamish Chumshei Torah. But in the 5 books, this is not mentioned, this name. So therefore, what concept or advantage was there then, when this statement was said at the end of the previous week's parsha, in the description of calling Yidden the army of Hashem, since the term Tzivokos is not something that's a descriptive name, an important name, enough to be considered one of the names of Hashem in the Chamish Chumshei Torah. Ois Beis, line 19, in the explanation, this matter is, the Niksiv, it says, in Shir Hashirim, Basi Legani I've come to my garden, my sister, my bride. This is referring to Hashem's returning to this world. This is the title of the previous Rebbe's Maimer that he gave out for Yud Shvat Tafshin Yud. It's brought down Medrash Rabbah on that pasuk in Shir Hashirim. Legani, why does it say to my garden? It could have said, I've come to the garden, meaning he's come to this world that Hashem calls a garden. Why is it called my garden? Lignuni, my special place. L'mokim shayikri v'tchila, the place that I was there primarily. How is that possible? The ikir shchina b'tachtoinim hoisa, the primary place where the shchina was located before a whole bunch of untoward things happened. So it was down here below. By day shiva in Yonim HaBilti Ritzuyim, through the 7 untoward things and unwanted things, that he enumerates in the Medrash over there. There was the sin of the tree of the Eitz Hadas, there was the sin of Cain killing Hevel, there was the sin of the Mabul, the Derafloga. There was a series of 7 sins. Nistalka Shechina Malmata Lamaila Adarakia Shvi. The Shechina left first from this earth to the first firmament, to the first heaven, and then it went up to a higher until it got all the way the furthest space and place possible to the 7th heaven. And afterwards there arose 7 righteous people, beginning with Avraham Avinu, and they reversed it. They brought the Shekhinah back to its original place. Until Moshe, who was the 7th in that series of tzaddikim, came along. And all the 7th are considered special and favored and beloved. And he brought the Shekhinah down below on this earth. We find this, that the 7th year is special by Hashem. That's the Shemitah year. The 7th day of the week is special. The same thing. The 7th tzaddik was the one that merited to actually bring the Shekhinah back down here. The Iker Gilei Elikus Haya Bebeis Hamikdash. The primary revelation of godliness, even though it already began by Matan Torah, like we'll soon can explain, but the primary revelation of godliness, where we say, "Oh, I've come to my garden, I've come to my special place, I've returned to where I finally belong," that was primarily in the Beis Hamikdash. The Chsiv, like it says, "V'asli Mikdash, they shall make for me a sanctuary, v'shachanti b'soicham, I will dwell amongst them." So in other words, now you have the Shekhinah returning to its original place. The intention in what the Frierdiker Rebbe writes in his Maimer, and he's quoting that the primary revelation of godliness was in the Beis Hamikdash, because the truth is, like I mentioned just before, it began even earlier. Moshe Rabbeinu's drawing the Shekhinah down into this world really began earlier. The beginning of drawing down the Shekhinah down here below, the Basi Legani, returning to my garden, that was through Moshe, that was by the giving of the Torah. Therefore he says, the primary revelation, meaning in a way that it's set and established. Inyan Gnuni. That's the idea of Gnuni, my special place, my place of pleasure, my unique place. Mishkan was in the making of the Mishkan, because Sha'oz Nasa Hamshachas Iker Shechina Lamata Ba'ofen Kavua V'nitzchi. From the Mishkan, or when the Mishkan was erected, then the drawing down of the primary Shechina was in a set and everlasting way. Beforehand, it was Matan Torah. Matan Torah, Hashem came down on Har Sinai for the duration of the giving of the Torah, and then he went back up. Or at least the cloud was on the mountain for as long as Moshe Rabbeinu was up there. But afterwards, the Shekhinah left the mountain. But it moved from the mountain to the Mishkan, like it's brought down on Mar Chazal, that very cloud that enveloped the mountain during Matan Torah and for the rest of the time that Moshe Rabbeinu was up there, once the Mishkan was erected, it traveled from Har Sinai and set itself down on the Beis Hamikdash, on the Mishkan. And the Rebbe goes on to say in the brackets on line 15, the Maisi, the Moshe Nitzchim, the actions of the hand of Moshe Nitzchim, whatever Moshe Rabbeinu put his hands to, those stayed forever. Especially the Mishkan that Moshe Rabbeinu made was never destroyed. It was hidden away. It's everlasting. That from this is derived, the Chazal derived it for any other things that Moshe Rabbeinu made, that it always remained. Similar to that revelation of the Shekhinah. The Basi Legani, that Hashem came to his special place, did not just end with the Mishkan, but it continued afterwards when Shlomo Melech built the Beis Hamikdash. Through that came about that through the windows that were shaped in such a type of way that they were narrow on the inside of the window and the outside of the window was broad, showing that the light is like exiting from the Beis Hamikdash. through that, it impacted and influenced the entire world. That should be the revelation of godliness of the Beis Hamikdash is spread out to the entire world. Just like when you have a window that's shaped narrow on the inside and wide on the outside, that's showing the direction where the light is supposed to expand to. Now he continues on line 20. The Maimer, the previous Rebbe, adds, the examination of the language of the pasuk, it says, I shall dwell amongst them. It doesn't say I shall dwell in it, meaning in the Mishkan, but within them, within each and every one, within each and every Jew. Yisrael, every single Jewish person, through his service in making for me and fulfilling the command that Hashem said, make for me a sanctuary. And how does one make a sanctuary? That is the service of sublimating the klippa, the negative forces, and transforming the negative forces, as we will learn later on. Through that Jew, becomes that Hashem dwells within them. The drawing down to the primary Shechina down here below. That's what it means. Tzaddikim will inherit the earth, and they will rest forever upon it. The avoid is called echad ve'echad misrael, the avoid of every single Jew. Va'amech kulam tzaddikim, like it says right before we say Pirkei Avos, we say, and your nation are all tzaddikim. So therefore, when it says in the pasuk, tzaddikim will inherit the earth, it's referring to all Jews. So the simple meaning is the tzaddikim will dwell forever upon it. But v'yishkenu can also be something that's proactive, that's affecting something else. That lahashkin lahamshir b'chinas ad mar v'kadosh Allah lamata ba'aretz, to make dwell and to draw down the everlasting level, the level that is exalted and holy upon it down here below on the earth. So the Frierdiker Rebbe has a unique explanation, this pasuk. Tzaddikim yirshu aretz, the tzaddikim, which are the Jewish people, will make the yishkin ula'ad, will make the everlasting one, should rest Allah upon the earth, upon this world. Draw down the Shekhinah down here. It's not just that Moshe Rabbeinu did it, but every single Jew makes a sanctuary for Hashem. Every single Jew completes this drawing down of Hashem into this world. And how does this happen? This comes about through the avoid of sublimating the klippa and transforming the klippa, like it says in Kabbalah. When the sitra achra becomes sublimated, the other side becomes sublimated to holiness, so the glory of Hashem rises upwards in all the words. The idea avoid the sitra through the avoid of sublimating the other side. Especially when the way how we're sublimating the klippa is that it's bringing to a transformation of the klippa, it's transforming darkness to light, to such a degree, he does such a great tshuva that is intentional sins, turns into merits. It's drawn down and becomes revealed a very lofty and elevated light, that it's equal in all the worlds. Lower revelations of godliness are tailored according to each world. A lower world receives a lesser type of energy, a higher world, a more spiritual world receives a more spiritual energy. But the fact that the Zohar speaks about that the glory of Hashem comes down in all the worlds, we're talking about that through our sublimating klippa, we draw down something that is beyond the worlds and therefore equal in all the worlds, since it's beyond the entire category and paradigm of worlds. For this reason, this drawing down the light is called departing or rising upwards. It doesn't mean that it leaves the world, but rather it's a drawing down, a revelation of such a type of light. This light, before the person draws it down, on its own, it's in an exalted state and an elevated state. Through the avoid of sublimating the sitra achra. Nimshach, when it's gal lamata, it's drawn down and revealed down here below. The drawing down of the primary level of the Shechina down here below, when each and every one of us sublimate personally and subsume personally the klippa. So he says in line 23, and the Maimer, the previous Rebbe continues. This is the reason why the Mishkan was specifically from shittim wood, usually translated as cedar, but really according to Torah there's like 10 different types of shittim wood. The liyos sheikar of Mishkan and Mikdash. Since the primary service in the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash is transform darkness to light, therefore the Mishkan was from the shittim wood, that indicates the transforming and turning around of the shtus of the other side, the foolishness of the other side. That Chazal say a person does not sin unless they were imbued with a spirit of foolishness, so they turn over the foolishness from the other side to a level of foolishness of holiness, meaning going beyond the realm of the limitations of intellect, going outside and beyond intellect. So he says on the top of the next page, this is also the reason why the wood that made up the Mishkan were called kroshim. Kroshim can mean beams or boards. Like it says in the pasuk, "Vasisas akroshim leMishkan atzi shittim hayim." We shall make the kroshim for the Mishkan shittim wood standing. So the Frierdiker Rebbe explains, "Keresh oisius kesher v'oisius sheker." The word keresh is the same letters like the word kesher, which is a bond or even a conspiracy, a negative type of bond, and it's the same letters like the word sheker, false, falsehood, lies. This conspiracy of the world, that the world demonstrates itself and wants to show itself as being some type of entity other than godly. Hu sheker, that very fact that the world attests to its existence, that's false. On its own, the world has no existence whatsoever. Its entire existence is it's because the spoken word of Hashem is bringing it into being in every single moment from total and complete nothingness. So therefore, since it's completely dependent upon the Eibishter that's bringing it into the state of not being nothing, so it has no independent being. It's constantly being held up and held together by Hashem. Though once the word of Hashem that brings it into being through the 10 utterances that Hashem said there should be a world, there should be light, there should be a firmament, etc., there becomes it's a real existence. It's real, meaning it's not a fantasy, it's not an imagination. The world really exists. But the existence of the world is only like an artificial existence, meaning it's something that's being propped up the whole time by Hashem. It's only because of the word of Hashem that's constantly bringing it into being. The fact that it shows itself as an entity that's seemingly independent is total falsehood. You should make the boards for the Mishkan standing shittim wood, to transform the folly of the opposite side to the folly and beyond intellect of holiness. And the falsehood and the conspiracy of the world to be a board for the Mishkan. Through that it becomes, I will dwell within them, the drawing down to the primary Shechina down here below. Line 18, Ois Gimel, so here we come to answer the question that we began at the beginning of the Maimer. This is why the Jewish people are called the army of Hashem. Because the avoid of every single Jew, to draw down the primary Shechina down here below, I shall dwell within them, within each and every Jew. Tzava has to be in the way of a tzava. Simply put, like in the way of an army, but we're about to explain that the three translations of the word tzava. The idea behind this is, like it's explained in the Maimer, that tzava, yesh by shloisha pirushim, the word tzava in Hebrew has three meanings. Aleph tzava lashon chayil, one tzava from the word army. Beis lashon zman mugbal, another meaning is a set time, a limited time, like it says, it says in the pasuk in Iyov, there's a set time for man upon the earth. And the third explanation means their unique form, their unique build that makes everything distinct and different. That the Chazal say on the pasuk that Hashem concluded the creation. What's the word tziva'am? So the Chazal translated l'tzivyoinam nivru. Each one was created with their own unique form. The Inyan Shloisha Pirushim Adam, and the meaning of these three explanations in the word tzava in the service of a person to Hashem. In tzava l'shoin chayil hu inyan hakabal soil. The idea of tzava from the word army, that's the idea of doing things like a soldier, accepting the yoke of heaven, doing what you're told. Like the Alter Rebbe says at the beginning of chapter 41 in Tanya, that Kabbalah's oil, accepting the yoke of heaven, is the beginning of all service of Hashem, and it's core, and it's the root of all service of Hashem. In this army-like devotion to Hashem, there are multiple levels, higher and higher, like it says, they will go from chayil to chayil. Now the simple meaning of that pasuk is they will go from strength to strength. So the Rebbe says, we could say, the idea of going from level to level, which is the simple meaning of the pasuk, is said in the pasuk in the expression going from chayil al chayil. They could have said yelchu mikoyach lekoyach. There's many other words that could have used. Why does he choose the word chayil al chayil? Kedei laram is to hint. The traveling has to be in the form of an army. Chayil l'shein tzava, chayil from the word an army. She avoided the kabbalas oil v'yiretz, the avoida of accepting upon oneself the yoke of heaven and the awe of Hashem. Hachel v'yiret atah, she reaches avoida, beginning from the lower awe. That's the beginning of person's service, a basic soldier type of acceptance of his officer's commands. Ad l'bchinas yirei law, until what's brought down the Chassidus, there's a higher level of awe of a yiras boishes, a type of awe that's not about fear. But it's more like an awe that has to do with being embarrassed to go against Hashem's will. So that's one explanation of the word tzava as army. Then another explanation, line 6, tzava loshen sivyan. Tzava from the word its unique form, which could also mean beauty. Hu inyan ha'iskalus shebi Yisrael. This is the intermingling and interjoining of all Jews. The imiyashin shams Yisrael im chalukim madrigosim and akotza is though Jewish souls are distinct in their levels from one extreme to another extreme. The yeshlam bali asagich em moritoirachu. There are those that are masters of comprehension. They're called masters of Torah. V'yeshlam anoshim pshutim. They're ordinary people. Shem rak moru uvdin tovim. They are only masters of good deeds. This is the beauty of the Jewish people. Shem chayil echad shel ribuy gvanim. They are one army made up of multiple colors. The tachos, the ultimate beauty, which is also hinted in the word tzivyon related to tzava, is when something is made up from many colors. If something is only one color, it's not beautiful. So the beauty of the Jewish people indicates on their intermingling of many different shades and nuances and colors and manners of service of Hashem. A third meaning of the word tzava, the tzava l'shayin is man mugbal. Tzava means a limited time. Behold, there is a set time for a person upon this earth. Every single person was given a set amount of time upon this earth to do specifically his service in this world. Line 17. We can connect this with what it says also at the beginning of the previous Rebbe's Maimer that he was referring to from the year 1923. That it says in a pasuk in Shir Hashirim, also a different thing. It says the one that's sitting in the gardens, friends are listening to your voice. Let me hear. When the way how the Jewish people act is in such a manner, despite them being scattered and spread out in exile, and they are grazing in the gardens of foreigners. This is one of the explanations that the Chazal say, that they're sitting in foreign gardens. Still in all, despite that, they are yeshevas. They are sitting in the shuls, they're sitting in the yeshivas, and they're involved in Torah study. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem and His court, comes to listen to the voice of the Jewish people that are studying Torah despite being scattered in Golus. That's what it means, Makshivim l'koilach, they are listening to your voice. This idea that's said concerning the time of Golus, it's connected with the explanation that Tzava means a limited time. And the analysis of the expression of this pasuk is that friends are listening to your voice. It hints at the idea of the intermingling of all the Jewish people. The entire Jewish people are friends like one person. Is connected with the meaning of the word tzava as something that's beautiful because the mixture of many colors. Daled, line 28. If we get at what's brought down in the Maimer of the previous Rebbe concerning the three explanations in the word tzava, or tzva'os. It's primarily an explanation why the Jewish people are called tzva'os, because their service is comprised of the three meanings of the word tzava: an army, a set time, and beauty. But the fact that they are called the hosts and the army of Hashem, that's already a new component. That means that the part of the tzava, that they're called army or hosts, is something related to Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. This means all these three things of tzava in the service of a Jewish person, they are ancillary to and close to and subsumed in the name of Hashem of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Now this shows on a much higher level. This idea that the Jews are considered the hosts of Havaya, they become subsumed and like absorbed in Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, is higher than the name Tzvakos that was revealed through the prophets, like we spoke before, that Chana was the one that first used it. According to Kabbalah, the name Tzvakos has to do with the lower worlds of Bri Yitzirasiyah, Mashenkin Shem Havayim, as opposed to the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. In addition to the fact that it's in the world of Atzilus. Skip the brackets 5 lines down to line 11. The name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is the innermost level of all the other names of Hashem. Shem Elokim, Shem Kael, Shem Shindal Yud, Shem Adonai. All of these names are external in comparison to Shem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. It's called Shem HaMefoidish, it's called Hashem's explicit name. Shem HaMiyuchad is unique name, but Shem HaEtzem and the name of his essence. That's why Yidden are called the army and the hosts of Havaya. They have to do at the utmost highest level. Their service, by being a tzava in all the 3 explanations that we mentioned earlier, makes them and is part of Shem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. V'yiseirim is even more so. Shahoiti Hashem es bnei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim al tzivoisom. It says that Hashem took out the Jewish people from Mitzrayim, from the land of Mitzrayim, upon their tzivoisom. Kamu betchil samaymer, like brought down the beginning of the Maimer. Yisrael hem l'maylam mitzivoisom. Yisrael is even higher than the level of Shem Tzvokos. Gam kemoish hatzvokos nechlon b'avai, even higher than the way the Shem Tzvokos becomes elevated. Shem Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, they are al tzivoisom, they're even higher than that. So the Rebbe concludes with a bracha, the last paragraph. Yiratzah should be the will of Hashem. Shekain Tialanu, so it should be for us. Like it says, we may take Niflois, like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim. I will show you wonders. To Kishem shows Yatsu called Sivas Havai, just like then. All the hosts of Havai went out of Mitzrayim, Shem Tfeilim, Usmuchim, and Nechlam Shem Havai. They were auxiliary to and close to and subsumed in the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Yes, or Al-Kain Al-Tzivoisom, even more so, they were upon the level of Tzivoisom. So too it should be also in the future redemption. V'yiseirim is even more so. Like it's known, the explanation of what it says. Like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders. In the simple meaning, it tries to tell us that, there was unbelievable wonders in Mitzrayim. So you should know when we go out of Golus with Mashiach, it's also going to be amazing wonders. But there's a deeper meaning. What will happen when we go out with Mashiach will look wondrous even in comparison to the miracles of going out of Mitzrayim. Speedily nowadays, mamish bagol down mamish in our time, mamish literally.